Hey everybody, welcome to our second family devotional. I am just so encouraged and so happy that you are able just to come alongside and join in on this with me. Really, we're gonna get right into it. So if your family's not with you, press pause, grab them real quick. But we're gonna look at Psalm chapter 2 today. Like I said last week, we're gonna be going through the Psalms, 150 of them. I know it's ambitious, but we're gonna look at Psalm chapter 2 today. I'm really excited about this one. It really shows a lot of things. And really, I want us to look at four main things together as a family, and then you'll have some questions and some time of prayer to do afterwards. I hope that was an encouragement to you last week. And so let's just dive into it. Let me read it for us. In Psalm 2, it says, "Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain, and the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us burst their bonds apart and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens laughs, and the Lord holds them in derision. Then he will speak to them in his wrath and terrify them in his fury, saying, as for me, I have set my king on Zion, my holy hill. I will tell of the decree. The Lord said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will make the nations your heritage and the ends of the earth your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron and dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore, O kings, be wise, be warned, O rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and trembling, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, for his wrath is quickly kindled. Blessed are all who take refuge in him." See, I love this psalm because it gives this clear picture of these four things I want us to look at, but a clear picture of sort of humanity and where God sits in this, and then also kind of God's rule over everything, and then really our responsibility and how we're supposed to respond to God's rule. And so right away, I mean, these words just really jump out to me. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? You see, right away we see this picture of human rebellion. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? You see, this was written thousands of years ago, but it's still true to this day. Why do the nations rage? Why is there, war going on constantly? Just people always angry at each other. It always seems like our country has an enemy and other countries have enemies. I mean, these nations are raging constantly, and people are plotting in vain. And I love that it says in vain, the psalmist writes, because they're plotting to do things, but really, they're not the ones in charge. They're not the ones necessarily in control of it. And we see that. And so right away, we see this picture in verses 1 through 3 of human rebellion, of our state of humanity and how we are. I mean, this is true of us. We are rebelling against God. It is in our nature to do so. And then we see this next part in verses 4 through 6. We see a divine reaction to our rebellion. In verses 4 through 6, he who sits in the heavens laughs. I mean, you see that he who sits in the heavens laughs. Like he just looks down and says, what are you even trying to do, these things you're plotting? I mean, it's just humorous. And the Lord holds them in derision. Then he will speak to them in his wrath and terrify them in his fury, saying, as for me, I have set my king on Zion, my holy hill. Just in those first 6 verses, we see this picture of human rebellion, of a divine reaction to it. And we see these strong words, rage and plotting in vain, and then it's derision and speaking to them in wrath and terrifying them in his fury. I mean, these are strong words, but this is a picture of what happens when we rebel. When we rebel, we think that we can sustain things. We think that we can hold things together. We think that we can, be the only reason for life. But the reality of it is, in this world is as we continue to rebel, things just continue to die. Things continue to fade away. I mean, I'm standing in a house right now, this abandoned house. I mean, and I look around here, the floors are torn up, the walls are torn up, there's holes everywhere, the windows are busted out, it's just spray painted. I mean, this thing is falling apart. But at one time, people lived in here and it was thriving and it was active and there was life in this home. But just how this world works, how this earth works, in our rebellion, just death occurs and things begin to break and fade away and fall apart. It's just the state of the world that we're in, no matter how much we think we can keep it together. But I love the encouragement in this and what continues this thing as Christians. as we read this psalm, it shouldn't be depressing. It shouldn't be discouraging. It should be joyful. It should bring hope to us. It should be an encouragement, because it says in verse 7, we see divine rule. And as Christians, we should welcome divine rule. It says, I will tell of the decree. The Lord said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. This picture of Jesus. And it says, ask of me and I will make the nations your heritage and the ends of the earth your possession. We have a king as Christians, and it is Jesus. And he reigns. And it's this beautiful hope and this beautiful promise that we have in the resurrection as Jesus ascended into heaven and sits at the right hand of the Father, that he reigns still. And then we see the reaction that we have. So we've seen human rebellion, we've seen divine reaction, we've seen divine rule, and then we see lastly in the final verses as we close, human responsibility in verse 10. Now therefore, O kings, be wise, be warned, O rulers of the earth, serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, for his wrath is quickly kindled. Blessed are all who take refuge in him. And so if we learn anything from this psalm, we can learn how to respond. We can learn how to respond, not in rebellion, but instead in trust in the God of the universe and the one who created everything. We can serve him with fear and rejoice with trembling, as Paul writes in the New Testament, to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. I love that wording, serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. It's a healthy thing as Christians. And then lastly, blessed are all who take refuge in him. Blessed are all who take refuge in him. In this time, in all times, no matter what your situation, be the one who takes refuge in him, who doesn't put your trust in these worldly and earthly things, but instead puts all of your hope, all of your trust, all of your joy, all of your peace in the one who created it, and the one who rules, and the one who reigns. Trust in God, take refuge in him, and you will be blessed. I hope this is an encouragement to you. Gather together, stay together, do your questions together, pray together. I hope this brings your family closer together, and it's just a spiritually uplifting thing for you in your home. God bless you. Thank you for joining us.